And there we go. Uh, and so, greetings. I wanted to say that today we're going to be talking about the trade war. And as you know, the United States is in a trade war with Mexico, a trade war with Canada, a trade war with China, you name it. And so, what we want to do today is we want to talk about how you can prepare yourself and your family for what some would call the tightening of the belt. And so, with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask you, first of all, to like, share, and follow us across all the social media platforms. All you need to do is just type in Refuge Depot. Type in Refuge Depot because we have a number of powerful programs that we're putting together that we're going to be putting out here real soon. You can follow us on Telegram and just type in Refuge Depot and follow us there. And there we give daily tips on disaster preparedness and survival. Also, of course, we're on the main social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So, with that, I'm going to bring on Brother Aaron Olinger, and he is going to take us into more on how we can begin to survive these trade wars. And greetings, brother.
How you doing today, Steve?
I'm doing well, doing well. And so,
Great.
yeah, I know a lot of people are nervous because we're hearing about these trade wars, and we're hearing about how it is affecting the cost of living. And so, we really need to figure out what we're going to do to survive. And so I'm thankful that you're going to be helping us to understand that. And if you are watching right now and you have any questions, you can type them into the chat. I'm going to also put on the link where you can come on live and ask the questions if you want to as well. So with that, brother Aaron, I'm going to turn it on over to you, and I'll be in the background and come on if I have any comments.
Okay. I'm gonna start off and I'm gonna define three things right off the bat. I'm gonna define tariffs. I'm gonna define trade war, and now I'm going to define reciprocal tariff. Now, tariff is a tax or duty to be paid on a particular class of imports or exports. I mean, this country back in the 1800s, we financed our country based upon tariffs. If someone wanted access to our markets, then they paid tariffs. Back then, people did not pay an income tax. So, and then later, when they did start to pay an income tax, that wasn't until 1861, and that was at 3% on all income over $800 per year. So, and that was straight across the board. It didn't matter who you were. So it was a straight 3%. Now, trade war, that's a situation in which the countries try to damage each other's trade by imposing tariffs or quota restrictions. That's what we're entering into with the European Union, China, Mexico, Canada, India, and a number of other countries right now. Reciprocal tariffs, which is what Trump is putting on a lot of these people, that is a tax or trade restriction that one country places on another in response to similar actions taken by that country. So if someone has put a tariff on us, we're putting one back on them, and they don't seem to like that too well. All we're doing is evening the playing field, and a lot of them are getting upset about it. Now, with the multiple trade wars that's going on, it's creating massive uncertainty in the world right now. And that uncertainty is starting to go through the roof. And I kind of fear for the average American, the working class, the poor, the middle class. Uh, they're shrinking in number, especially the middle class. They're being highly impacted. And this is going to be a major impact. I mean, while the ruling elite is squabbling back and forth with one another, this is almost going to be what Trump is trying to do is almost like a doctor, a surgeon. He cuts into you, creates a massive wound so that you can later heal from whatever ailment that you have. there's going to be massive cuts. The pain is coming in the beginning so that this country can basically heal and come out better at the end. Now, I saw this before. I lived through this one time before under Reagan with his trickle down in Reaganomics. His first 3 years was painful. I mean, extremely painful. Even I was out in the street for 3 years. The fourth year, we began to see prosperity. And because of the prosperity we were seeing, because of the all the trade restrictions and stuff he put into place, we started to see that prosperity, and he got reelected to a second term. So the second term, we also saw it. So we had 3 years of pain to have 5 years of prosperity. But that means nothing to the average guy on the street. Now, Steve, could you put that picture up for me if you got a chance? Okay, what I want people to see here, these are the 50 top countries with the best quality of life. If you live in these countries, it clearly shows that you're out of 188 countries in the world. These are the best 50 countries to live in, and they're rated by their quality of life. Who's got the highest, who has the lowest. In my lifetime, I've seen us go from number one to where we're at now. We're number 22. Most of these other countries are NATO countries or European countries, and they are all living better than us, even though the American taxpayer is taking it on the chin to bail all their banks out and help with foreign aid and stuff. I mean, we give 175 countries economic aid, and there's only a total of 188 in the world. That means there's only 13 countries we're not helping economically. But as you can clearly see, we're number 22. We've gone from number one down, which means the American middle class, poor, and working class are getting poorer. And I hate to say that, but that's the reality of the situation. Okay, Steve, go ahead and take that down. So right now, because of decades of corruption, because of decades of money printing with nothing backing it, because of decades of borrowing money against income that we didn't technically have, we've dropped from a triple A status as a nation down to double A. And right now, we're where we cannot kick the can down the hill any further. Austerity measures have to go into place. We got to run lean and mean. So that means a lot of people are going to lose jobs. A lot of people are going to see high prices. Even interest rates could go up, which would be very negative for the average person. So today, what I would like to talk about is things or techniques that people can put into place to prep for these trade wars. I hope that I can name some things that you haven't thought of. Some of them you may already be doing right now. But at this time, I just hope to give you some additional ideas so that you can position yourself that on the tail end of this, and expect it to last at least 3 years, 3 years of pain, so that when you come out at the tail end, you'll be in position not only to have survived it, but you've thrived through it. And then you're in position to take advantages of all the investments that came down in value. You'll be in position to buy the dip, as they say. So let's get started. The very first thing that I would recommend that people do is to buy items to entertain you at home. Because the more you go out, the more money you're going to spend. You want to center around being able to hold on to your money. So, and what I'd recommend would be a good game system or some board games or something. But I would also recommend exercise equipment, because you're going to need to build a better version of yourself. You want to take care of your health through this period. Plus, crime rate's going to go up. I mean, it was massive under Reagan because so many people were pressed that if they couldn't make money from the system, they was going to make it off the system illegally. So expect that somebody may try you one day. So build a better version of yourself. The second thing is you want to buy before the price hikes go in. This requires for you to watch the news. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like to watch news because it's depressing. But when those tariffs go into effect, the prices are going to substantially increase. So you want to buy before that increase happens, because what you would buy now, 6 months from now, will be much more expensive than using the money that you can now. So you're going to get more bang for the buck by purchasing just before those tariffs hit. Then I also recommend that you swallow your pride. Go to the local food pantries or the church food giveaways. They give away 50 to almost $200 worth of food, and that's 50 to $200 of your money that you get to save. And all you have to do is show up, and don't feel bad about it. I mean, a lot of them, you just drive up, they load your car up with stuff, and you drive off. And again, don't feel bad. Don't think that somebody needs it more than you, because when you look around out there, you're not going to see nobody out there in no beaters or no hoopties. You're going to see Mercedes, Cadillacs, Escalades. That's what I see when I'm out there. You're going to see some nice cars out there, and these people are there getting that free handout. So is their need greater than yours? No. Get out there and get what you can so that you can save your money. Money is finite. It's not infinite. So again, we want to hold on to those dollars. So go to the local food pantries. That's free. Take advantage of that and start stocking up your food pantry at home. Then a third thing would be to buy in bulk to save money. You got Sam's Club, Costco's, different places out there that if you go there, you can stretch your dollars further. You can buy in bulk, you get things cheaper than you can at the big box stores. So take advantage of that and use that again to build that food pantry, because your food pantry, when you're building it up, you want it to have food, water, and over the counter meds that you can treat different ailments with. So you want to start working on that as soon as possible. Another item would be to use coupons. Now, there was a fad a little while back. I think it was back around 2015 to 2019. They called it super couponing. People were going out buying $200 or $300 worth of food and only spending $50 out of their pocket and had a ton of coupons. So those coupons saves dollars. It saves your money. So get back to cutting coupons. Don't be ashamed to use them, because again, the object here is to hold on to your dollars in a higher price environment. Okay. Then you want to find alternative protein sources. Now you might say, well, why would I do that? Meat could become so expensive you may not be able to have it. The main goal is to maintain your health. You want to be able to have a balanced diet. That's very important. Certain amount of fat, certain amount of carbs, certain amount of protein. So you've got plants that have protein, like beans, for example. Eggs have protein, nuts have protein. So you definitely want to find alternative protein sources that you can add to your menu in the event that something becomes too expensive that you can't afford to buy. Then for those who have their homes and backyards, you can go with backyard meat sources. That could be chickens, backyard chickens. You can grow quail, raise quail, and you can raise rabbits. Those three particular game, they are very, very minor as far as amount of food that you have to give them. And they produce a lot of meat. They produce eggs. Uh, Again, saves you money if you're raising your own. Then for those that may want to expand even further, go with a backyard garden. During World War II, victory gardens was a big deal. Everyone's backyard, there was no grass. Everybody had a garden growing in the backyard. In the front yard, there was no grass. They grew herbs in the front yard. So backyard garden would be ideal. And if you're able to have backyard meat sources, then that's even better. It's more gravy. That's icing on the cake right there. Then you would like to learn how to preserve food. Some of the methods that you can experiment with, because your garden is going to produce abundance for you that you're not going to be able to consume it all. And you don't want to just throw it away. Uh, Learn to can. You can dehydrate food. You can buy a dehydrator to dehydrate food, and that extends the shelf life out considerably. You can freeze food. Learn how to freeze the food. Pickle. I mean, you've seen people pickle eggs before, make pickles and other things. Salt curing is one way of extending the shelf life of food. You can ferment, learn to ferment certain foods. You can smoke certain meat or whatever to extend the life of it. You can honey glaze. And there's a few other methods also that's out there. But any of those skills you learn is just furthers your knowledge, and then you can pass that knowledge down through the family. Then another thing again, swallow your pride, go to the local thrift stores to shop. You can save a lot of money. While you're there, you can look for high quality secondhand items. I remember the first time I went, I was embarrassed somebody was going to see me in one. A friend of mine had me driving to it, and man, I was just dreading walking in there. But then I was surprised to see the clothing, furniture, bicycles that you could buy cheap. I mean, I was amazed. I mean, I even saw clothing that at first when I looked at the clothing, I said, I don't think I want to wear any of this. This is dead people's clothes. But I saw clothing that still had price tags on it from the original manufacturer where people never wore some of that stuff. And again, that's the advantage of being able to get a high quality secondhand item. But take your time and shop. And those thrift stores, you're going to find a lot of stuff and it's going to save you a lot of money. And you need to invoke these skills to make it through the trade wars that are ahead, because we're going to go into some serious financial uncertainty and things that's going to get tight. Then you can also, with shopping with the thrift stores, you got like Facebook Marketplace. That would be another place that you could find something. Or on your way home, you might see yard and garage sales. I mean, they called them Reagan sales when Reagan was in office, but everybody had yard and garage sales going on because they had to get rid of excess and try to pay those bills that was coming in. Then another item would be to shop discount stores. You've got stores like Aldi's, Dollar Tree, Dollar General. Again, we're stretching the dollar. And during the time that we're going in, you got some people counting dollars, you got others going to be counting pennies. And if you got to stretch that penny, Aldi's, Dollar Tree, and Dollar General is going to be ideal. So start going there, start looking at some of the prices, get familiarized with everything, and be prepared to stretch your money as far as you can. Then you want to learn when the big box stores run specials. Every year, the big box stores are going to have specials. Uh, you see, Sam's Club, they have clearance sales certain times a year. You go to Home Depot or Lowe's, clearance sales. Those are ideal time to pick up stuff out of season, but still brand new at great discounts. Uh, see, oh, another one, GFS, Gordon Food Service in my area. At 3 p.m., the rotisserie chickens that they have for $5 and $6 are $3 a piece. So if you can wait till 3 p.m. and go in, you can buy 2 chickens for the price of 1. So, but again, you have to know when the big box stores are running those specials. And again, that's the way of stretching a dollar. Then another item would be to shop at farmers markets. Why? Because one, the food's going to be higher quality. It's all fresh. And then 2, you're helping the local farmers out. They're not rich. And the money they make at those, I'm pretty sure they don't claim that on their income tax, but it's a great help to them to support the local small vendor instead of the big box stores. And it keeps them in business and you're making a friend. If you buy enough from them, they learn your face, they learn your name. If things got really bad and you came around, they'd be less likely to point a boomstick at you to tell you to get off their land. They recognize you, they trust you. Uh, they're going to take care of you because they know you're going to take care of them. Then another thing would be to learn to rotate cheaper substitutes. Let's say, for example, tariffs come in and noodles or pasta coming over from China or somewhere goes way up in price. In that same menu, can you substitute rice, for example, a grain? Would that substitute in that meal and you still have that meal out there, which rice would probably be much cheaper at that point. So learn to figure out cheaper substitutes that you could use. Then another item would be secure your own supply chain. Don't count on the government to be there to help you. This is something that you have to do on your own. Make friends with people with skills. Make friends with auto mechanics. Make friends with plumbers, electricians. This is where you're building your community. It gives you a higher chance of survival. And if they're doing side work and you can bring your car to their house or they're willing to come over and work on your plumbing or electricity, you want to make those relationships because you might be able to barter or trade with them. And it's just great to have that access to those people. And they may not charge you as much as, say, the company that they work for if they came representing them. And a lot of them do side work on the side. So this is an option that you'd want to add. Then I would also say don't make any purchases with credit if you can. Now, if you're going to use your credit or debit card, make sure that you can pay the balance off at the end of the month in full. Not no interest payment, not no monthly payment. Make sure that you can pay in full because right now we want to reduce our debts that we have. We don't want to be running up any bills, and you sure don't want to put yourself in bankruptcy trying to buy some of this stuff, and you're just going to put it all on your credit card and bet on future income that you may not have. Because are do you feel that your job is guaranteed? Can you get laid off? If some of this disposable income people have slows down, and we will go into a stagnant economy like under Reagan, they called it stagflation. You're going to hear that term come up as the economy slows down. When people have less money to spend, disposable income, they're out there spending less, and different industries, hospitality, like hotels, motels, gambling casinos, it could be airlines, it could be vacations. There's going to be a lot of things that's going to shrink, and they won't need all these workers, and they'll start to cut back. Is your job guaranteed? Because right now, a lot of people told me a government job was guaranteed, and they're facing layoffs. Their industry is being totally impacted right now. Another item: save money, because everything that we've been talking about so far is centering around you saving that finite currency that you have. Hold on to that money. Get some money in the bank, but also keep some money at your house. Because if the banks get into trouble and they declare a bank holiday, they will shut down, they will lock the doors, and they will turn off the ATMs. I saw it happen in Italy. I saw it happen in Ireland. They cut everything off and they would only let people take out $60 a week because of the state of the national emergency with the money and everything. And you can't live on $60 a week. You can't pay your bills on $60 a week. It wouldn't matter if you had 200,000 in the bank. You were only taking out $60 a week, and that was at the ATM because the bank's doors were shut and they were locked. Then, with the money that you're saving, take 10 to 20% of it and put into precious metal, silver, gold, and then this is a new one. This is called gold backs. They're about $6 a piece. And I can tell you right now, for a poor person or somebody that's on an extreme budget, it's a bargain basement opportunity to get in on investment because as gold goes up, these have a certain amount of gold in them and they're going to go up. So it would be a chance to get in on a good investment. Plus, in times of uncertainty, gold and silver goes up when inflation is climbing and the dollar loses value. Every time gold and silver goes up, you know the US dollar's lost value, and you can go out there and buy more with that dollar, and everything's going to seem like it's higher in price. It's just that the dollar's not buying what it used to be able to buy. So to invest in hard times, precious metal is the way to go. Now, I'm not an investment counselor, so do your own research, but I don't think that you're going to beat precious metal because this has been money since 5000 BC. I mean, this is God's money. God put it on earth. Fiat currencies have a shelf life. Most of them expire in 95 years. US dollar's been in effect for 107. So we're actually in overtime with the US dollar. Sooner or later, it's going to expire, and they're going to bring forward the Federal Reserve has the digital currencies that they're ready to bring forward, where you won't even have paper money no more. And you don't want to see that happen, because you lose all right of privacy. They will know every transaction that you make. So I would definitely say sooner or later they're going to let the dollar fold, and they're going to bring forward that digital currency. So precious metals, 10 to 20% of your savings into, I think, would be a good investment for hard times. Then next would be to live within your means, your income. Don't live on credit. That's the problem that put the United States in the position it's in now. From the time that not Reagan, but Nixon took us off the gold standard, all they've been doing is printing money out of control. There's nothing backing it. It's like printing counterfeit money. And that's the reason why the BRIC Alliance won't take American dollars or British pound sterling no more. They want to be paid in gold bars. And certain countries like Great Britain, South Korea, different ones, they're running out of gold because they can't use their American dollars no more. So live within your means. That's how your grandparents made it. They paid cash for everything. So try to get yourself to be disciplined enough to live within your set income. Nothing on the credit cards, because we've done so much corruption, so much borrowing with other countries, that right now the United States has to borrow money to make the interest payment on the debt. And I think that the interest payment is right around $1 trillion. So it's ridiculous that we're digging a hole for ourselves. And that's the reason why we're falling in world standing right now. Then
Oh,
another thing oh, I'm sorry.
my fault.
Another,
I did have a question coming in, and I'll
sure.
put it on the screen for you.
Okay.
It says the problem with gold is you can't trade it with people who are ignorant of the worth during a recession, depression. What do you insight do you have maybe on that?
Okay. I do. I'm going to tell you this. People will say something that it's totally ignorant when they say you can't eat gold. Okay. I'm going to tell you this. Gold is gold, silver, silver. You go anywhere in the world, you go to any currency exchange place, they will give you money for that gold or silver. You go to any gold place, you go to any coin shop that sells bullion, and you can exchange that. Now, if you come to the gun shows where I set up at, and you bring gold or silver to me, and I recognize what it is, I give you full value for it, because I know what I'm dealing with. The average person on the street won't. I admit he's right on that. But in the end, when they say you can't eat gold, oh, you can go out and cash it in. You can buy food and you can pay your bills. Now, if you just focus all on beans and rice, you can't pay your bills with beans and rice. And at the end of a bad period, like I'm going to use the Great Depression as an example, those people who got liquid quick and didn't watch their stock certificates go down to zero, they held on to that money. And toward the end of the Great Depression, they was able to buy those stocks for pennies on the dollar, and they was able to buy real estate cheap, because at the end of it all, like Warren Buffett right now, he went and got liquid. He's got billions of dollars waiting to buy in the dip. He's going to be sitting there like a vulture waiting on opportunity to pounce. And then you're going to run into people that's going to need to sell off their assets and to just cover bills. I mean, I had to do it when I was laid off for 3 years. I sold guns, weight equipment, stereo equipment. I sold different things to be able to make it. And I see that we're going back into the same period. So I know what to expect, where most young people won't. But you're right with a sense. But when things is over with, if you got gold and silver and you cash it in and you get liquid, you're in a position to pounce on investments and other things that you're going to be able to buy cheap.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I don't want to say it's about timing, but it kind of is.
Yeah,
So, but you want to have it because it's going to be worth a lot of money. I mean, gold, I think, hit 3,000 an ounce today.
it's
Silver is
just
somewhere
going up.
around, Yeah, silver's somewhere around $33 an ounce. And right now, some of the forecasters are talking about 4,000 to 5,000 gold, an ounce for gold in the near future. And if that's the case, I'm going to tell you right now, the US dollar ain't going to be worth nothing but about 25 cents. We'll be looking at almost hyperinflation at that point. Argentina's going through hyperinflation now. They're seeing a 1930 stock market drop that rivals our Great Depression, what they're in. A dozen eggs there runs $200. That's hyperinflation. So we want to position ourselves to make it through this bad period we're in. But if you've got gold and silver at the end, you're gonna be looking pretty good. I mean, use Venezuela as an example. When their economy tanked with U.S. help, uh, a person that had 44 ounces of silver could buy 45 acres of land
Wow.
because the silver went up so high in value there. And again, it's a matter of timing. You wait, you hold, you hold. Now, gold and silver is a stagnant investment. It doesn't do much. You won't see much movement. But when things start to go bad, recessions and depressions, the value increases. And if you're a person that's looking to hold, like some people I told to invest in silver last year when silver was $14.50 an ounce. And here recently it went to 33. And I talked to two of them last week. I said, now you can take half of your coins and take them back to the shop and you can sell them and you can make your money back that you got in it totally. And then you're just playing on their money after that. Both of them told me we ain't cashing nothing in. They're going to hold on to the whole thing and ride it out, see how far it goes. Now, I've seen silver go as high as $49, almost $50 an ounce. And then it came back down. But that was due to manipulation of the metals market. And I don't want to say the name of the company that did it, but they're setting back stock in silver like you wouldn't believe right now. So they're trying to
Hmm.
suppress the value of silver so they can keep amassing it in their vaults. But that's
So
something to consider. Go ahead, Steve.
yeah, there's a lot of info, I don't know, not infomercials, but commercials that you have that'll pop up on like YouTube and even on the radio that tell you to invest in gold. What is your and I know like you were saying that you're not necessarily an expert on that, but what are your thoughts as far as investing in these gold companies that hold your gold, but you don't, I don't know, you don't have access to them. Is that something that's wise to do?
Most of it is gold stock certificates, and just like during the Great Depression, those stock certificates were worthless paper
Mm,
at the end of the day. And I'm gonna tell you this: if you can't hold it in your hand, you don't
right.
own it. That's the rule I go by. Anything that's worth something, you should be able to hold it in your hand. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And
Mm,
if you're paying for them to keep it in their vaults, if you bought the physical gold and silver and you're paying somebody to keep it in their vaults, at the end of the day, uh, the person that has possession of it is 9/10 of the law.
hmm.
So how are you going to get your gold or silver out of their vaults?
Mm.
But
And
if
one of the
you don't hold it,
things
you don't own it. Go ahead, Steve.
that my wife suggested was, there's when you go to some of these stores, and I won't necessarily name them, but they give you these little cards, and you can get cash back on them. Sometimes you can use them towards gas, and that comes in handy as well as far as being able to stretch that dollar, if you will.
Right. And
Hmm.
then next item I want to say is pay off as much debt as you possibly can. You don't have to focus on your highest bills, but the low ones, the low payments, because some of the low bills, when you add them together, they add up to something. But if you can pay them off, so when we go through lean times and you're having to stretch dollars, you don't want to be in a position where you have to choose, do I buy groceries this week or do I pay bills? Do I put gas in my car or do I buy food? You don't want to be in that position. If you got a food pantry established, you won't be. But pay off as much debt so that you can hold on to as many dollars as you can. That's the name of the game when we go into this hard period. It's going to be all hold on to as much money as you can. Then another item would be to set up an emergency fund at your house, not at the bank, not in the safety deposit box, because when those banks declare bank holiday and they lock them doors, you have zero access to your money, even what's in the safety deposit boxes, because those doors will be bolted shut. So set up an emergency fund at your house. Right now is, say, 2022. The average person barely had $1,000 in the bank. 2025, 3 years later, the average person doesn't have $500 in the bank. Americans are becoming poor because we pay such amounts in taxes and inflation, and we're just being seen as being ATM machines for the political parties that's ripping us off. So start saving some money at the house. That way, if the banks declare a bank holiday, you have something. Also have ones, fives, and tens. Because when you go to some of the stores, if you find one that's open, they're not going to have change to give you. You look after these disasters. When you hear someone paid $100 for a carton of water, a package of water, it's because the store didn't have change. They weren't trying to make change. And you had a choice. You could have walked out, or you can pay $100 for that big stack of water that you just bought. So if something only costs $4, have ones, fives, and tens on hand at the house, at least 100 of each. And then you can have whatever denomination you want after that. But have the ability to give correct change so you don't get ripped off. And another reason to have that emergency fund, a lot of the elderly people like myself, we've been through this before, and we'll have the discipline to be able to maintain and be that homebody person. Stay home, hold on to our dollars. But if you have kids that are out there in apartments or houses and they got young families, they're not going to have that discipline. Sooner or later, your phone is going to ring and they're going to be like, Mom, Dad. And even though they tell you, I'm grown, I can handle it, I can handle my money, you'll find out real quick they can't. They they don't have the discipline. Temptation will trick them out of their money, and then now they need mom and dad to help out. So you can play tough love, but if you play tough love and you say no, they lose their home. They could end up back home with you, and they could be bringing a spouse and some children with them. And I'm gonna tell you, from living by myself, there's a whole lot to having peace of mind in your home. Do you want to have a family living with you? So get that fund together so you don't have to bring them back to your house. So, and then the lastly thing I want to say is eat more at home, less out. Learn to cook more at home. Try to eat healthy if you can. Preserving your health saves money on doctor bills, surgeries. I mean, you could tell me, well, I've got 100, 200,000 in the bank right now. I'm not worried about nothing. And my answer to you would be your one major car accident, your one major surgery, and your one major illness, long-term illness, away from being broke, because healthcare is expensive. So try to eat more at home, eat healthy. It's easier to preserve your health now than to try to get it back later on the tail end of this. But just know that we're going into tough times. And I hope some of the things or techniques that I've mentioned, these were things that I did when Reagan was in office and I was out of work for 3 years. I didn't lose nothing. All my friends lost their cars. We all worked in the auto industry, and half of them lost their houses or their apartments. I made it through by invoking some of these techniques. And I want to share that knowledge with other people out there and hope that some of this will help you to make it through some hard times that are just ahead. So, Steve, I'll stop there for right now.
All right, that was excellent. So I want to just read this that my wife sent me and just get your comments on it. All right. So
Okay.
she said the last major trade war under Reagan in the 1980s hit Black and working class communities hard. Factory
Mhm.
jobs were lost as industries shut down or moved overseas. Wages stagnated, and people turned to the underground economy to survive. At the
That's right.
same time, crack cocaine flooded inner cities. And instead of reinvesting in communities, the government launched the war on drugs, leading to mass incarceration. Trade wars don't just impact businesses, they create economic instability that trickle down
Mhm.
into our daily lives. If history
Right.
repeats, we can expect rising prices, job losses, and increased financial struggles for the working people while corporations find ways to protect their profits. So that's definitely something that's interesting
Yeah, definitely.
to,
And
to
I
to
want to say
to
this.
to recognize.
Yeah. Because in my lifetime, I've seen where one person going to work could support a family of four or five, and they lived well. They had luxuries. Now it takes two people working, and one of them's got to have a side hustle to be able to make it. I mean, you almost have to get the family dog and put him to work
Right,
because things is just that tight right now. And before anybody says, "Well, I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna cross my fingers and I'm gonna hope," hope ain't done through crossing your fingers. Hope is done through working with these hands.
right.
That's how you got to put in the work. There's not going to be no luck here. Uh, if if it's going to happen, you got to make it happen. And I'll stop there, Steve.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I appreciate all that you've shared with us, and I think that we're going to have to really digest it because we're going through some very serious times, and we do need to tighten. We need to tighten our belt. We need to become. I always say domesticated. We need to become once again. We need to put our hands in the soil, and start growing some of our own food. If we have a nice sized backyard, then allocate some of that to growing some food. There are
Mhm.
some foods that are really easy to grow. Beans. There's just, I mean, they'll have to research and look it up, but there are some foods that are real
Beans.
easy to grow that they can start growing their own food. And like you said, one of the things that we really want to look at is not spending our money frivolously and getting out of debt. That's the best thing that we can possibly do. So I think
I
that
mean, just
yeah, go right
just
ahead.
just cutting back on going out to eat or buying scratch offs or other or playing a lottery all the time. That's going to save you money right there. I mean, I know in my own self that I go out to eat all the time. When I cut back, I'm going to have a substantial savings on just going out to eat.
Right,
So any way that you can cut expenses is going to help you. But don't get me wrong. You have to maintain a certain morale within yourself.
right,
We're not telling you that you got to just stay at home and suffer the stress and everything. No, you still have to live your life, but
right,
just realize that you got to tighten your belt right now, but still have something to cut that stress off of you with, or develop new hobbies. I mean, if you want to pick up going walking in the neighborhood, don't cost nothing to walk.
right.
And you'd be surprised how much healthier you'll be behind it. If you're
Mm,
gardening itself for me is stress relief. And I'm looking forward to getting started. I mean, the weather's changing. I
yeah.
plant right after the first week after Mother's Day, and I'm looking forward to getting started this year.
Right, absolutely. We started putting some seeds in Ziploc bags, and we're already seeing them beginning to burst forward, and it's a beautiful thing. And like you were saying, when people get out and they start to see what they put in the ground come up, and it's exciting, and then to taste the food is just another world because a lot of the food that you get from the grocery stores is either highly processed or genetically modified, and a lot of it is nutrient uh, has lost a lot of nutrients, really. When you grow your own food, you'll see the difference in not only just the taste, but the nutrients that you'll get out of your food. um, Another thing is that it is mentally healthy for us to put our hands in the dirt. They call it grounding. And so it's a mentally healthy process as well. Another thing that people do, I know in the nation, we are instructed to eat, one meal a day, and to eat a proper meal, not just, junk food, eat a proper meal. And so a lot of times that can help stretch the dollar. Another thing, like you were talking about, is cutting back on any type of drugs or alcohol. Things like that will eat up your money. Cigarettes, that'll just eat up your money as fast. So if we can cut those type of bad habits, I would say, if we can cut those bad habits out, we'll begin to see our dollar being stretched a little further than it was before. But I think that you have given some excellent suggestions on how
I
we
got
can go about doing that. Yes, sir.
I got one more item I forgot to mention.
Mm,
Okay. Learn to repurpose items. I mean, in your house, if someone's jeans get tore, my parents did it when I was young, they put a patch on them jeans and hand them down to my brother or something. If you got an old tire around the house, instead of going out and buying a big flower pot, paint that tire, lay it sideways, pour some dirt in it, and grow some herbs or something out of it. You can grow flowers out of it. You can make it decorative. You can take an old wheelbarrow that's rusted out. You can paint it, put dirt in it, plant flowers in it, becomes a planter. Learn to repurpose items, not be so quick to throw away stuff and go out and buy brand new stuff.
and
And that's
I
going to
want
save you some money too. Go
I
ahead,
want to
Steve.
reiterate what you had said too in the beginning. We shouldn't allow vanity to keep us from surviving. When you were
Right.
saying
Right.
about going to the pantries, um,
Mhm.
you are absolutely right. When you go through to those pantries, you will see nice cars, and these individuals have no uh, they they don't
There's no
they're not
shame to
worried
the
about
game.
anybody seeing them carrying a large box of food and putting it in their trunk. And so
That's
if
right.
you need to go to a pantry and times are you're having some difficulty, then you definitely need to go ahead and do that. Also, thrift stores. Thrift stores have a lot of nice clothes, in these thrift stores. Sometimes they're new clothes, because they might have a stitch that wasn't sewn on right, and
Right.
they're right there in the thrift store. So I think, like you said, if we can, move vanity maybe aside and humble ourselves and survive. That's the key. That's the number one goal. So,
And
um,
that's what it's going to take right now because, if you try to survive by yourself, that's one thing. Um, if you're counting on the government, they're not going to be able to help. They're almost broke right now. So you can't count on a lot of help there. But if you build that community and work with people, I mean, when I used to go to this one church, and I'd be out there passing out the food. And at the end of the day, we'd have a certain amount of boxes of food left. I would go by the elderly neighbors in my neighborhood that was in their 80s and 90s, knock at their door, and I'd give them a food box. And you wouldn't believe how appreciative they was with me showing up at their door, giving them those boxes
mhm.
of food. I mean, they're on Social Security. They're not living rich, and they all loved it. I mean, and it made me feel good to be able to help out. Even if you get in that food pantry line, you don't have to keep the food. You can keep out of it what you want. And if you have children or people in need that you know of, you can take the rest and share it with them. Because without you going to get it, they would never have it.
Right.
And again, that's what I said. You got to put in the work. These hands have to put in work. There's no shortcuts. But if you put in the work, you'll position yourself to come out of this having thrived through it. And then you're in position to buy into dips that there's going to be in the markets. And oh man, it's going to be lovely when you're at the end and you got a pot full of money that you're able to jump out there in the markets with. Because as they come back up, and the markets always come back, you get to ride the high side of that. But
Yeah.
I'll stop there.
All right. Well, once again, I'm always suggest people to look at purchasing my book, The Inescapable Famine. One of the things that it has in this book, The Inescapable Famine, is what we just talked about, and that is communities pulling together. I think that it's going to be real important. So if you're growing something in your yard and your neighbor is growing something in theirs, and then you bring your produce together and you have a nice salad, you know. So this is some of the things that we're going to have to really look at, you know, and the way that we have been operating as individuals and not as communities, we're going to have to really change that mindset as things get harder, and we're going to have to really depend on each other as communities as never before. So, thank you, brother Aaron. I think that we'll end it with that. I think that us ending it with the great information that you gave is going to be something that we can go back over and study, because it was some real good information. So once again, thank you. And we'll go ahead and close it on out from here.
Okay.
All right.